Hey, my name is Ethan. I'm 28, and until 6 months ago, I thought I understood the difference between right and wrong. Then, at 11:42 p.m. on a Tuesday, my phone buzzed 3 times against my nightstand, and everything changed. It was my ex-girlfriend's mother, Lydia, sending me a bikini photo with the caption, "Do you like big women?" The espresso machine downstairs was hissing, my hands were shaking, and I should have just deleted it and pretended it never happened. Instead, I typed back something that started the most dangerous 4 months of my life. She looked at me one day, treading water in that chlorinated blue, and whispered, "I just want to feel like I exist." If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments, because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. The espresso machine downstairs hissed like it always did at 11:42 p.m. Thin walls meant I heard everything. Lena closing up the cafe, the grind of chairs on tile, the last customer's footsteps fading down the street. My phone buzzed 3 soft taps against the nightstand. I almost ignored it. Freelance editing meant deadlines, and deadlines meant late-night messages from stressed brides who just remembered their vow ceremony was in 6 days. But something made me reach for it. The screen lit up. A text from Lydia Harrow, Maya's mom. The photo loaded slowly. My breath caught. A woman in a navy bikini standing by a pool, one hand on her hip. Confident. Beautiful in that way that comes from knowing yourself. The caption read, "Do you like big women?" I stared at the screen for maybe 30 seconds. My chest felt tight. Lydia had curves, real ones. She was 45 and looked incredible because of it, not despite it. The kind of woman who made you forget about 20-something girls who lived on salad and anxiety. I deleted the photo. Then, I went to recently deleted and stared at it again. This was Maya's mother, my ex, the woman who'd made me coffee exactly twice during our 8-month relationship, who'd asked polite questions about my work, and never once looked at me the way women look at men they actually see. Except, had she? I deleted it again. Typed, "I think this was meant for someone else." Backspaced. Tried, "Wrong number?" Too casual, too much like I was playing along with something. The espresso machine hissed again. A car passed outside. Lake wind rattled my window. Finally, I typed, "I think this was meant for someone else. For what it's worth, some of us are tired of being small." I hit send before I could think about it. Set the phone face down on the nightstand. Stared at the ceiling. What the hell did that even mean? Some of us are tired of being small? But I knew what it meant. It meant I'd noticed her, the way she moved through rooms like she was apologizing for taking up space, the way her husband Grant talked over her at Maya's birthday, dinner last spring, the way she'd grown quieter and quieter each time I saw her, like she was learning to disappear. At 12:08 a.m., 3 soft taps. Did you mean that? I didn't sleep much after that. Morning coffee at Lena's cafe tasted like burnt guilt. She pulled my usual double shot, no sugar, and gave me that look she reserved for customers who looked like they'd been hit by something soft but devastating. Rough night, Eddie? Just editing. I checked my phone for the 15th time since 7 a.m. Lydia's message sat there like a confession I wasn't qualified to hear. Did you mean that? Yes, but also no, but mostly yes in ways that made my stomach clench. I typed, "Yes, but no secrets. Please make sure this stops here." Sent it. Ordered a second espresso. Opened my laptop to a manuscript about wedding vows that suddenly felt like evidence against me. "Promise me you'll choose love every day, even when it's hard, even when it's not convenient, even when the world tells you to choose something safer." I closed the document. At 10:30, she replied, "Understood. Thank you." Clean, polite, the kind of message that felt like a door closing. I should have been relieved. At 11:50, another message. Stopping by the pool at noon. Crowded, safe. My gym bag smelled like chlorine even though I hadn't used it in 3 days. I grabbed it anyway. The boutique gym downtown wasn't really a gym. It was where rich wives pretended to exercise and rich husbands pretended their memberships were about fitness instead of avoiding home. Mr. Klein, the manager, nodded when I walked in. He had that way of looking at people like he saw more than they wanted him to see, but would never say anything about it. The pool deck echoed with afternoon voices, families, retirees, a few people who actually swam. I spotted Lydia in lane 3. She moved through the water like it was holding her instead of the other way around. Smooth strokes, no rush, her dark hair slicked back, shoulders cutting through the chlorinated blue with a grace that made my chest tight. I claimed lane 7, far enough away to be decent, close enough that she'd know I came. The water was warm, warmer than it should be for a serious swimmer, but this wasn't a serious place. This was where people came to feel held by something when their lives had stopped holding them. I swam 20 laps, kept my head down, focused on my breathing, on the burn in my shoulders, on anything except the way she looked when she paused at the wall to adjust her goggles. When I finished my set, she was gone. In the locker corridor, shoe squeaks echoed off tile. I was toweling my hair when my phone buzzed. Thank you for being decent. That was it. No follow up, no invitation to be indecent. I should have been relieved. 3 days passed like a held breath. I edited vows, walked to the cafe, pretended to, read books, jogged past the lake road that led to Lydia's neighborhood but never turned down it. On Thursday, she texted, "Same time tomorrow? I promise this is just swimming." I arrived at 12:05. She was already there, lane 3 again. This time I took lane 4. We swam parallel sets, never spoke. But when she rested, I rested. When she pushed off the wall, I was right there beside her, matching her pace stroke for stroke. After 30 minutes, we both climbed out. The deck was busy enough that nobody looked twice at two people toweling off near the same lane. "Your stroke is clean," she said quietly, not looking at me. "Yours is stronger." She almost smiled. Years of practice, swimming alone. The way she said alone made something crack in my chest. Ethan, Lydia, as if we hadn't known each other for over a year, as if Maya had never brought me to family dinners where we made polite conversation about my work and her garden and whether it would rain. "This is," she started. "Innocent," I finished. She nodded, but the words sat wrong between us, like calling a fire innocent because it hadn't burned anything yet. The next week fell into a rhythm that felt both natural and impossible. Noon swims, different lanes, polite distance. Sometimes we'd end up at the same wall during rest intervals, and she'd mention the weather or ask about my work. I'd tell her about the memoir I was editing, an 80-year-old man's love letters to his wife who died 10 years ago. "Does it make you sad?" she asked one day, wringing water from her hair. "It makes me hopeful that something can last that long." She was quiet for so long I thought the conversation was over. "Grant and I used to write letters," she said finally, "when he traveled for work, before email. Do you miss them?" "I miss being someone worth writing to." The words hung in the chlorinated air between us. I wanted to tell her she was worth writing to, worth swimming beside, worth the guilt that had taken up residence in my stomach like a stone. Instead, I said, "Your husband doesn't know you swim." It wasn't a question. He knows. He just doesn't know. This matters to me. This. The water, the movement, the 45 minutes when she wasn't Maya's mother or Grant's wife, but just Lydia, cutting through blue with purpose. "It should matter to him," I said. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was deciding whether to trust me with something fragile. "Some things are too small to explain," she said, "and too big to ignore." Maya called me on a Tuesday evening. I was heating leftover Thai food and trying not to think about the way Lydia's cardigan had brushed my arm when we passed in the gym corridor that afternoon. Hey, Maya said. No preamble, she'd never been one for small talk. Hey, how are you? Good. Busy. Listen, I wanted to check in. See how you're doing. We'd been broken up for 6 months. Clean split. No drama. Just two people who'd realized they liked each other fine, but didn't love each other enough to pretend otherwise. I'm good. Work steady. Good. That's good. Something in her voice made me set down my fork. Is everything okay? Yeah, it's just. Mom mentioned seeing you at the gym, the pool. I didn't know you swam there. My stomach dropped. Sometimes. It's close to my place. Right, of course. Just. She's been different lately, happier maybe. Dad's been working a lot and she seems, I don't know, lighter. The Thai food suddenly tasted like cardboard. That's good, right? Yeah, it is. She's my mom, you know? I notice things. The silence stretched between us. Maya was smart. She'd always been smart. Too smart to miss patterns, even when she didn't want to see them. Ethan. Yeah? Be careful. The line went dead. I stared at my phone for a long time. Then I deleted Lydia's number. Then I went to recently deleted and stared at it there too. I didn't go to the pool the next day, or the day after that. On Friday morning, sitting in Lena's cafe with my third espresso, a text came from a number I'd memorized but deleted. Pool fundraiser tomorrow. Families welcome. Public. Safe. She'd attached a photo of a flyer. Colorful. Kid-friendly. The kind of event where nothing inappropriate could happen because everyone's neighbor would be watching. I typed back, I'll be there, because I was already in too deep to start swimming toward shore. Saturday afternoon, the pool deck buzzed with families and folding chairs. Mr. Klein wore a polo shirt that made him look like someone's uncle instead of someone who saw too much and said too little. Noah, the teenage lifeguard, whistled and pointed kids toward the shallow end. I donated $20 to whatever cause they were fundraising for and bought a bottle of water I didn't want. Lydia stood near the snack table, talking to a woman in oversized sunglasses who looked like she collected gossip the way other people collected stamps. Vivian something. Maya had mentioned her. Neighborhood watch type. The kind of woman who noticed when you got your mail 5 minutes later than usual. Lydia wore a white cotton dress that moved with the lake wind. Her hair was down, loose around her shoulders. She looked like summer itself, like something you'd want to preserve in amber if you could. When she saw me, she smiled. Not the careful smile she gave Grant at dinner parties. Something real. Something that made my chest feel too small. You came, she said when Vivian drifted away to interrogate someone else. You asked. I suggested. Same thing. We stood there, surrounded by splashing children and chattering parents, having the most dangerous conversation of our lives in the safest possible place. I should get you a towel, she said. You look like you're planning to swim. Just watching today. But she was already moving toward the towel station, and something about the way she walked, purposeful, graceful, like she was dancing to music only she could hear, made me follow. She handed me a towel. Our fingers brushed. Just for a second, just long enough for the world to tilt slightly off its axis. Lydia. I know. We stepped apart. Two adults with enough common sense to know when they were standing too close to a fire. Across the deck, Vivian's sunglasses caught the light like mirrors, reflecting everything, missing nothing. Ethan, Lydia said quietly, whatever this is, it's nothing, I said. It has to be nothing. But even as I said it, I knew we were both liars. Some doors, once cracked, never quite close again. And we'd been learning the hinges by heart. The fundraiser ended at 3. I helped stack chairs while families loaded tired children into minivans. The afternoon had that golden quality that made everything look like a memory, even while it was happening. Lydia thanked volunteers near the exit. Professional smile, polite distance. But when I passed with an armload of folding chairs, she said quietly, "Same time Monday?" I nodded, kept walking, loaded the chairs into Mr. Klein's storage cart like my hands weren't shaking. Monday couldn't come fast enough, and it came too fast. The pool at noon on Monday felt different, emptier, more dangerous. Only a handful of lap swimmers cut through the water. No families, no teenage lifeguards whistling at nothing. Just the serious swimmers and the people who came to the pool for reasons they couldn't explain to their spouses. Lydia claimed lane 2. I took lane 4. Far enough to be innocent, close enough to watch her stroke count and know when she was thinking too hard because her rhythm would shift. After 20 minutes, we both stopped at the deep end, treading water. The pool deck echoed with the sound of someone else's flip-flops disappearing into the locker room. Ethan, yeah? This is getting... She paused, searching for words that wouldn't damn us both. Complicated. The water was warm around us, chlorine bite in my nose, her dark hair slicked back, droplets on her collarbones catching the light from the windows above. "It's just swimming," I said. She almost laughed. "Is it?" No, it wasn't. It was the way she smiled when she saw me walk onto the deck. It was how I'd started timing my grocery runs to match hers, just in case we'd bump into each other in the cereal aisle and have 30 seconds of conversation that felt more real than anything else in my week. It was the fact that I dreamed about her twice and woken up feeling guilty both times. "Lydia, I know." She pushed off the wall, started swimming again. Fast, aggressive strokes that said the conversation was over. I followed her lead. We swam our sets, kept our distance, pretended we were just two people who happened to prefer the same pool at the same time. In the parking lot, we ended up walking to our cars in the same direction. Her white sedan, my beat-up Honda, with the cafe napkins scattered on the dashboard. "Grant's at golf," she said, not looking at me. "Okay. I just wanted you to know, in case you wanted to talk, without..." She gestured vaguely at the gym windows where Mr. Klein might be watching, where Vivian might drive past, where Maya might decide to surprise her mother with an impromptu visit. "My car's quieter," I said. It was a terrible idea. We both knew it. We got in anyway. Sitting in my Honda with the doors open and the lake wind moving through the trees felt like the most natural thing in the world. Also, the most dangerous. "I called a counselor," Lydia said after 5 minutes of silence. "Good." "Grant asked for a quarter's grace, to focus on work. End of Q3, then we'll try." Corporate language for a failing marriage, like their relationship was a project that could be optimized with the right timeline and quarterly reviews. "What do you want?" I asked. She was quiet for so long I thought she wasn't going to answer. "I want to feel like I exist," she said finally. "Not just as Maya's mother or Grant's wife, as me, as Lydia." The way she said her own name made something crack behind my ribs. "You do exist." "Do I?" When's the last time someone asked me what I wanted for lunch instead of just assuming I'd eat whatever they ordered? When's the last time someone noticed that I swim 46 laps instead of 45 because I like the odd number? I had noticed. Of course I'd noticed. 46, I said. She looked at me then. Really looked. Like she was seeing me for the first time or the 100th time. I couldn't tell which. "This is dangerous," she said. "I know. Maya would never forgive me." "I know." "Grant would?" "I know." She was quiet again. Lake wind lifted her hair. A moth had somehow gotten into the car and was beating itself against the passenger window, desperate for light it couldn't reach. Some days I feel like that, she said, watching it, like I'm throwing myself at glass, trying to get to something I can see but can't touch. I wanted to reach over and open the window, let the moth find what it was looking for, but Lydia was already getting out of the car. Same time Wednesday? She asked. Yeah. She walked to her sedan without looking back. I sat there for 10 minutes, watching the moth find its own way out through my open door. Wednesday came with complications. At 12:15, just as I was finishing my warm-up laps, Maya walked onto the pool deck. My heart stopped. Actually stopped, like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. She wore workout clothes and carried a guest pass. Behind her, Vivian followed with her signature oversized sunglasses and the smile of someone who'd been waiting weeks for exactly this moment. Lydia was in lane 3, halfway through a set. She hadn't seen them yet. I ducked underwater, stayed down as long as my lungs would let me. When I surfaced, Maya was talking to the young lifeguard, probably asking about day passes or pool rules or something completely innocent that felt like a trap. When Lydia reached the wall and pushed off her goggles, she saw them. Our eyes met across 4 lanes of water, hers wide, panicked. I did the only thing I could do. I climbed out of the pool and walked to the locker room like I'd finished my workout and hadn't noticed Maya at all. The locker room echoed with my breathing, harsh, too loud. I sat on a bench and stared at my phone. No messages. That night, I drafted 17 different texts to Lydia, deleted them all. The next morning, I tried again. You okay? No response. By Friday, the silence was driving me insane. I jogged past her neighborhood twice. Once at dawn, when the porch light was still on and moths circled it like satellites. Once at dusk, when Grant's SUV sat in the driveway and warm light spilled from the kitchen windows. Both times, I kept running. Saturday morning brought an email, group invite to Maya's birthday brunch the following weekend. From lydiaharrowigmail.com. Subject: Maya's 27th. Small celebration at home. The message was polite, formal. No hint that we'd been swimming parallel laps for weeks or sitting in my car talking about moths and marriage. I RSVP'd yes before I could think better of it. Maya's birthday brunch was everything I'd expected and worse. The house smelled like lemon zest and coffee. Lake light streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Grant wore a polo shirt and the expression of a man who'd rather be anywhere else but had learned to perform contentment for company. Ethan. Maya hugged me like we were still friends. We were, I realized. The breakup had been clean enough to leave room for actual friendship. You came. Wouldn't miss it. I'd brought her a cookbook from the used shop downtown, something we'd laughed about once, a collection of romantic dinners for two that was clearly written by someone who'd never cooked for anyone they actually wanted to seduce. She opened it and actually smiled. Oh my God, this is terrible. I love it. Vivian flitted between conversations like a pollinating bee, gathering information to spread later. She complimented my shirt, such an unusual color, almost sage, in a way that made me feel like she was filing it away for future reference. Lydia moved through her own home like a ghost, perfect hostess smile, offering refills and clearing plates and asking if anyone needed anything while somehow managing to never look directly at me. Until the kitchen, I was helping clear the dessert plates when she finally spoke. You didn't have to come, she said quietly, running water over forks. Yes, I did. Why? Because staying away would have looked worse. Because I needed to see her, even surrounded by people who made our connection impossible. Because I was already in too deep to start drowning gracefully. Because you invited me. She handed me a wet plate, our sleeves brushed. Just fabric against fabric, but it might as well have been a live wire. Don't ruin her day, she whispered. I took the plate, dried it carefully, set it on the stack like it was made of something precious. I would never hurt Maya. I know. That's what makes this so. She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. That's what made it so wrong. So impossible. So much like falling in love that neither of us wanted to call it by its name. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 12:07 a.m., I got up for water, looked out my window toward the lake road. In the distance, barely visible through the trees, Lydia's porch light blinked twice. Off, on, off, on. Then steady darkness. I stood there for 5 minutes, wondering if I'd imagined it. Then I pulled on a hoodie and walked. The folded towel sat on her front step like an invitation, or a treaty, blue cotton, still warm from the dryer. Lydia opened the door before I could knock. She wore pajama pants and an oversized sweater that made her look younger and more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. I wasn't sure I should. We sat on the steps, the towel between us like a border neither of us was allowed to cross. The night was quiet except for the distant sound of waves on the lake and the hum of the porch light above us. I told Grant I want to try counseling, she said. What did he say? That he needs a quarter's grace to focus on Q3. Then we'll see. Corporate speak for, I'll think about it after I finish caring about things that matter more than you. What do you want? I asked. I want. She pulled the sweater tighter around herself. I want to stop feeling like I'm disappearing. I want someone to notice when I change my hair or when I'm sad or when I swim an extra lap because round numbers feel too predictable. I notice. I know. That's the problem. We sat in silence for a long time. A car passed on the main road, headlights sweeping through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, someone's dog barked once and went quiet. This can't sabotage your marriage, I said. What marriage? The bitterness in her voice was new, raw, like she'd been holding it in for years and finally let it surface. He's my husband, she said more quietly. I made promises. I have to try to keep them. Even if he won't try to keep his? Especially then. She leaned forward. For a terrible, wonderful moment, I thought she was going to kiss me. Instead, she pressed her forehead to my palm, just for a breath, just long enough for me to feel the weight of her exhaustion, the heat of her skin, the way she trembled like she was fighting herself. Then she pulled away. Daylight only, she said. Public spaces, no more nights like this. I nodded, stood up, left the towel on the step between us. Walking home, I felt like I'd been blessed and cursed in the same breath. The next morning, Lena raised an eyebrow at my soft grin. Good run? She asked, pulling my usual espresso. Yeah, good run. At noon, I texted Lydia. Opposite ends? 3 soft taps in response. Yes. At the pool, we kept to our lanes. Lane 2 for her, lane 7 for me. Far enough apart to be innocent, close enough to know we were both thinking about the weight of a forehead against a palm. When we finished our sets, Lydia tapped twice on the pool tile, a soft sound, barely audible over the filter system. I tapped twice back, a code, a signal, a way to say, I see you without words. The following week passed in careful choreography. Monday, Lydia went to a counseling intake appointment alone, sent me a photo of lake reeds bending in the wind, no caption, no explanation. Tuesday, Vivian knocked on doors about HOA dues. I watched from my kitchen window as Lydia paid on her front porch, door barely cracked, like she was afraid to let the woman inside. Wednesday, Maya texted me a thank you for the cookbook and a gentle boundary. Let's keep birthdays easy next year. Message received. She knew, maybe not everything, but enough. Thursday. At the pool, Mr. Klein said quietly as I signed in, public lanes help people swim straight. Advice disguised as conversation. warning disguised as wisdom. Friday. I jogged past Lydia's street at dusk. The porch light stayed steady. No signals, no invitations, just moths batting against glass, searching for something they couldn't have. Saturday came with the kind of bright, sharp light that made everything look like a postcard. The pool deck was busier than usual. Families, retirees, people who swam for joy instead of drowning slowly in their own lives. I arrived at 12:05. Lydia was already in lane 2, moving through the water with that grace that made my chest feel too small. I claimed lane 7, our usual distance, our safe space. Between sets, we rested at opposite walls. No words, just small nods. The acknowledgement of two people who'd learned to speak in gestures and silences. When she finished her 46 laps, I was waiting with a clean towel folded by the lane edge. She didn't take it until after a full cool down. Professional, careful, nothing that would look like intimacy to the afternoon swimmers scattered across the other lanes. At the exit, we crossed paths. Our eyes met. Just for a breath, just long enough for the world to tilt and settle again. Then the glass door closed between us, and I watched her reflection disappear into the bright afternoon light. Some mistakes are just doors we don't close. We learn the hinge by heart and leave it there. The weeks that followed fell into a rhythm that felt both natural and impossible. Noon swims, opposite lanes, tile taps, 2 for yes, 3 for maybe, 4 for I'm thinking about you too much. She started wearing a different perfume, something light and citrusy that lingered in the pool area long after she'd left. I started timing my grocery runs to the exact moment when she'd be driving home from her volunteer work at the library. We never spoke about the night on her steps, never mentioned the forehead to palm benediction that had changed everything and nothing. But sometimes, when the porch light blinked twice at exactly 12:07 a.m., I would walk, not to her door. That had been a one-time grace we couldn't afford to repeat. Just through the neighborhood, past her street, under streetlights that illuminated nothing but the space between what we wanted and what we were allowed to have. Grant got a promotion. Lydia mentioned it during one of our careful conversations at the pool wall. He'd be traveling more, working later. The counseling had been postponed until after the holidays, then until after his next big project, then until sometime that existed only in the distant, theoretical future. Some doors stay cracked, she said one day, treading water in lane 2 while I floated in lane 7. Is that enough? I asked. She was quiet for so long I thought she hadn't heard me. It has to be, she said finally. Because we were adults. Because she was married. Because Maya was my ex and Lydia's daughter and the kind of person who deserved better than secrets and stolen glances. Because some loves are meant to be held carefully, like soap bubbles or newborn birds. Touch them wrong and they shatter. Hold them too tight and they die. So we learn to love in the spaces between. In 46 laps instead of 45. In towels left precisely where they needed to be. In the particular way she said my name during the brief public conversations we were allowed to have. On a Thursday in October, Maya called. I'm seeing someone, she said without preamble. That's great. Really. He's a good guy. Pediatric nurse. Volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends. He sounds perfect. Yeah, well, perfect's boring, but stable's underrated. A pause. The sound of coffee being poured. Maya had always been a stress sipper. Ethan. Yeah, my mom seems better, happier. I don't know what changed, but whatever it is, I'm glad. She didn't say she knew, didn't ask questions, just offered the kind of gratitude that comes with willful blindness. She deserves to be happy, I said. She does. And Ethan? Yeah. So do you. The line went quiet. Not dead, just the comfortable silence of two people who'd once loved each other enough to let go cleanly. Take care of yourself, she said finally. You too. That night, the porch light blinked twice at 12:07 a.m. I walked, not to her door, just through the quiet streets where our impossible love lived in the spaces between streetlights, where some mistakes become the most honest things we've ever done, even when we're careful not to make them again. Some doors stay cracked. We learn the hinge by heart and leave it there, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes, that's enough. If a light blinked twice, would you go?